8:51 the time on a Thursday morning, and time to talk about tips with Byrd and Byrd, LLC attorneys at law, elder law lawyers with offices in Bowie and Prince Frederick, Maryland. And joined once again from Byrd and Byrd with attorney Brian Ritter on the line with us. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How about yourself?
Doing well, thanks.
Okay. Hey, we're talking about inheritance taxes today. What is an inheritance tax?
Well, an inheritance tax is a tax on assets of a decedent that passed to an individual upon a decedent's death.
Okay. Is there an inheritance tax in the state of Maryland?
There is, but it's limited. In Maryland, there's no inheritance tax on lineal descendants. So a lineal descendant include children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren on down the line, or parents, grandparents, or anyone up the line, and brothers and sisters. Lineal descendants do not include nieces, nephews, cousins, aunts, uncles, friends, or other collateral heirs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, in Maryland, what is the inheritance tax rate on collateral heirs?
Well, Maryland assesses a 10% tax on the property that passes to a collateral heir.
And who's generally responsible for paying that inheritance tax?
Well, generally, the person receiving the property is required to pay the inheritance tax, unless the decedent's will directs that the probate estate pay the inheritance tax. But if the will directs that the estate pay the inheritance tax, then there will be a total inheritance tax of 11.1111%.
Why does the state of Maryland assess an extra 1.111% of the estate pays the inheritance tax?
Well, it's not an extra assessment, but rather it's the same 10% tax on the amount that the estate is paying on your behalf. So, for example, if your inheritance is $1,000, the state assesses a 10% tax, which is $100. So because the estate is paying the $100 on your behalf, your total inheritance is now $1,100. So the state then taxes that extra $100 at 10%, resulting in an extra $10 inheritance, which is then taxed at 10%, resulting in a $1 inheritance, which is then taxed at 10%, resulting in a 10 cents inheritance, which is then taxed again at 10%, resulting in an additional 1 cent inheritance. So in essence, you get 1 cent for free, or in essence, the state literally taxes every last dime.
I bet they do. Are there any exceptions to paying inheritance tax?
Well, other than lineal descendants that are exempt, any distribution to tax-exempt charities and also distributions to any individual, regardless of the relationship, of $1,000 or less.
Now, Brian, is an inheritance tax the same as a death tax or maybe an estate tax?
No, they're not the same. Inheritance taxes are taxes on the assets of a decedent that pass to an individual upon the decedent's death. But death taxes and estate taxes are the same. They're synonymous. A death tax or estate tax is a tax on your right to transfer property at your death if the total estate value is over a certain dollar threshold. There's a federal estate tax and a Maryland estate tax. So for 2014, if a single person's total estate is over $5.34 million, the IRS levies a tax which will not exceed 40%. In Maryland for 2014, if a single person's estate is over $1 million, the comptroller levies a tax of around 16%. However, Maryland just passed a law this past legislative session that recouples the state estate tax with the federal estate tax. So by 2019, the Maryland estate tax will be the same as the federal estate tax.
Okay, now if any of our listeners have additional questions or want to learn more about inheritance taxes, how do they get in touch with you?
Well, I can be reached at 301-464-7448, or our listeners can visit us on our website at www.byrdandbyrd.com. Just a note, on June 24th, my colleague Jessica Estes will be hosting an estate planning and long-term care insurance seminar at the South Bowie Library from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. And also, too, as a reminder, we will be hosting our Medicaid Monday workshop on Monday, July 14th from 5:30 to 7 at our offices in Bowie, and our estate planning takeaways workshop on Thursday, July 17th, 2014, at our office in Prince Frederick. The workshops are free, but space is limited to 10 people, so you should call and reserve your seat. There will be light refreshments, and we do these workshops on the second Monday of every month for the Medicaid Mondays and the third Thursdays of the month for the estate planning. So if you can't make the July dates, we have workshops planned for August and September too. So feel free to join us next week for more tips.
All right, thanks, Brian. Thanks for joining us.